I have here with me Ms. Nisha Agarwal, who is the CEO of Oxfam India. Oxfam India has been working as a fully independent Indian organization since 2008. We work with 200 NGO partners across the country on a budget of $18 million through 5 regional offices and a staff of 130. In addition, we have 18 fundraising offices and over 300 consultants raising money for our programs through these offices. Over to you.
Thank you, Karan.
I would like to ask you this question. In order for us to work effectively together, what is it that other affiliates need to know about our affiliates?
I would like to start by saying hello to the whole Oxfam family. As you know, Oxfam India is the newest and 15th member of the family. We became a full member this year. Oxfam is marking 60 years in India today, so we have a very long presence in India. But as an independent new affiliate, we are the newest member of the family, and we are very delighted to be part of this family. We started forming on September 1, 2008, so we are almost 3 years old. The first thing we did was take stock of the operations of the 6 Oxfams that were amalgamated to form Oxfam India, and then to look at today the relevance of our program and the needs in India. And we took about a year to design a new strategy, and that strategy now provides a very clear vision and direction for where we want to go. So I think that is important. I mean, all of us need to be clear what we want to do, and then we can find areas of working together. After launching the strategy, the second thing we did then was to look at our existing programs, our existing structures and our existing systems, and to try and align them to the new strategy. And the past year has been spent in doing that. So to implement the strategy on the program side, we have come up with 9 program clusters. And again, with very, very clear outcomes that we are expecting from our work on livelihoods, from our work on essential services, from our work on gender justice, and from our work on humanitarian areas. So I think what we have now is great clarity on where we want to go in the next 5 years, and I think that will be very helpful for all of us in finding ways of working together.
The second question I would like to ask you is, what strengths does your affiliates bring to the Confederation? Given your strengths, what support can you offer to the affiliates?
So what Oxfam believes in is that active citizenship as an idea is what will bring about the kind of changes that we are all working towards to see a fairer and just society. Now, India and Mexico are the only 2 members of the whole Confederation where we are actually working on development programs in a developing country. And in India, after the liberalization of the last 2 decades, basically what has happened is that some people have benefited from it and some have not benefited as much. And so India is growing deep. The inequalities in India are getting further sharpened. What Oxfam is very good at is working with poor and marginalized people and giving them voice and empowering them. But you know, the other half, the middle class and the rich, who are as important, if not more important, in terms of shaping policy debates, we really don't know very well how to work with them. And Oxfam India is playing a role of bridging, providing a bridge between the haves and the have-nots in India, and working on these deep inequality issues. And I think that is something quite unique in the whole Confederation, where we have a huge program on the ground. We are also trying to reach out to the middle class. We are trying to promote active citizenship amongst both groups. We are trying to get their voices heard, and we are trying to go for a more inclusive development path. So that's one whole set of issues, a deep understanding of poverty and inequality. A second set of issues is that the program that we inherited, and one that we're going to keep given the size of the country and the needs, is a very comprehensive one. So while some Oxfams might be working only on one theme, we are working across all the 4 thematic areas. We have a very large program in economic justice, in essential services, in gender justice, and also on humanitarian. Since we are our own country affiliate, we also need to learn how to respond to all the disasters, which is happening a lot. So in all of these areas, we feel we have very rich programming which can provide experiences to the whole Confederation on how to deal with, take a rights-based approach, link the grassroots programs to advocacy, how to do a major campaign. And so there's really a lot of strengths that we can offer to everyone.
Okay, the third question I would like to ask you is, what are you hoping to get and learn from other affiliates?
So we as an Oxfam International affiliate need to follow the same program standards and all other standards, high quality standards. And as a new affiliate, we are looking to others to teach us how to do some of these things. So for example, humanitarian is one. In the past, Oxfam Great Britain took the lead, and globally they have a lot of expertise. So we have a pairing with them where they coach and mentor our staff. They help us design our strategy. They hold our hands through the responses. And this has worked very well. And in the last couple of years, we've really been more and more able to respond at least to the smaller disasters ourselves. And the other affiliates have helped us build our capacity, build partner capacity, build government capacity to really be very quick on the ground and to be able to save lives and reduce the amount of suffering that happens during a disaster. That's one kind of learning. We are also very, very excited to be launching the first trail walker this year. Fundraising is very important now as we need to tap into the middle class in India and build a huge base of support. I went and saw the trail walker in Sydney, and it's a hugely challenging event in terms of logistics and financing and getting it right. And we're delighted that Oxfam Hong Kong is helping us to come and audit our trail, and Oxfam Australia has offered to come and help us in other areas. And so what we have is really a relationship where we can offer something, but in exchange we are also very happy to be getting the kind of guidance and support that we're getting from other affiliates. Very importantly also on the funding side, when we started 3 years ago, 100% of our funding came from the other affiliates. It's gradually declining, but we really, till we can build our own fundraising base, which we are doing now. We have 18 fundraising offices around the country. We have a huge team of about 300 staff and consultants on fundraising alone. The economy is growing at 8 to 10%. The middle class is growing. People are beginning to give back. We think we have a very sound financial future. But for the next 5 years, we will need continued financial support from the affiliates, and we hope that it doesn't decline too slowly, because we have a very important role to do both within India, within South Asia, as well as increasingly through the G20 and other fora in the rest of the world as well. So we are really looking for all kinds of support from the rest of the family.
Okay. Followed by the third question, I would like to ask you, how would you describe your approach to program work? Can you give examples of programs that demonstrate your strengths?
So I think since we are a new affiliate, we kind of had the luxury to really put the one program approach into practice. We have a large base of grassroots work. We are building very strong MEL systems, monitoring, evaluation, learning systems that would tap into the knowledge from the grassroots work, use that for our advocacy and campaigning work, so that it's a one seamless work. It's not that the advocacy work is separate, the campaign work is separate, the research work is separate, and the grassroots work is separate. They need to be very tightly integrated, and that's what we are trying to practice. One very good example, for example, is our work on education. We want to influence access to quality education for every child in India, especially the ones that are getting left behind on the basis of gender or caste or religion or ethnicity. These are the marginalized groups in India. So the first thing that happened was that all of civil society got together and got the right to education enshrined in law. And now our job is really to see how do these marginalized groups access that law and what are the problems and challenges for them. So we have partners on the ground in different states that are working with these communities. We have large networks that are looking at the implementation on the law that we are tapped into. So 1 year into the anniversary on April 1, our education team, along with all of civil society, international NGOs, local NGOs, our partners, various commissions that have been set up to monitor, together they did a stock taking in all of India. By working in this networked manner, we can go way beyond our 20 or 30 partners in any one theme and leverage all of civil society to bring about change. And we took stock, we produced a fantastic report to say what's working, what's not working. We had a big public meeting, we sent the report to the government. So that's a really, really good example of how we should be working. Another very good example is the food justice campaign that we've all launched together. So again, the right to food is an extremely important issue in India. We are looking at the whole chain. Agriculture is an important issue. 60% of our people are still engaged in smallholder agriculture, and the sector is in severe distress. So how to show that smallholder agriculture is viable, how to look at the whole issue of transportation of food, the distribution of food, and access to food by poor people. And again, we are really doing it in the same manner. We have grassroots programs that are looking at what's working, what's not working. There are already very large networks. They're very happy for Oxfam to play this role of bringing things together from the local levels to the national levels, and also in this case linking to global levels, because a lot of issues on land grabbing, etc. it's happening by Indian companies, let's say in Africa and so on. So, this is a very good example again of where we can all leverage all our strengths together and link up as a big family to have an impact on a very important topic.
Okay, the fifth question I would like to ask you is, in order to collaborate effectively, what advice would you give to others when engaging with your affiliate?
India is still facing very severe challenges on poverty, social indicators. We have 456 million poor people. Our maternal, all the MDG indicators are like sub-Saharan Africa. There's a thinking out there in the donor world that India is now a middle-income country and therefore doesn't need any help. I think the Oxfams have to grapple with this issue. We have to decide, are we really just going to look at these labels like what's a middle-income country and low-income country, and therefore only help countries that are labeled as poor, or are we going to look at where the poor people are living? So we feel we should really be trying to help poor people irrespective of where they live, because we have said that it's every individual's right to have a life of dignity. It should not depend on the borders and the political boundaries and so on. So we need a lot of help in terms of collaboration, what works and what doesn't work, the knowledge business. That is the power of ideas which will bring about change. I think, as I said, what is working well in agriculture? How do I access that knowledge immediately? So we need to be much better at knowledge management. We know every time all of us travel to the grassroots level, we see fantastic work happening. And yet it's not documented, it's not made available. Maybe a particular affiliate knows about it, but cross-affiliate learning, sharing, the kinds of things that we talked about earlier. What is it that we are doing well? What is it other affiliates are doing well? Somehow to make it much more easily accessible. So knowledge, I think, is one. Secondly, I think again the whole area of finance. For the first time, we are going to, before finance, I would say focus. Currently, I find that Oxfams tend to do everything everywhere. Now, when we design our next strategy together, with Oxfam International Strategy, which for the first time will be a joint strategy covering all aspects of our work. In the past, it only covered advocacy and humanitarian. Now it's also going to cover our entire program. In the past, we've tended not to share knowledge about programs very well. None of us know what is working well somewhere and what is not working well. So now that we are going to do that, can we sharpen our focus a little bit? We are not the only players in the development business. We are a big player, we are an important player, but not the only player. We don't need to do everything. We have limited resources. What is it where the needs are the greatest, where our comparative advantage is the greatest? Try and sharpen the focus a little bit. And then finally on finance, I would say currently we are making decisions about our funding individually. The SMS process has been really fantastic. For the first time, it makes us all think we are part of one family. We are not just a loose confederation of 15 Oxfams all doing their own thing. We are going to have one strategy. We are really looking at how to raise funding much more collaboratively. We also need to see how to deploy that funding much more strategically than we have in the past. There are countries where there are many Oxfam, there are many countries as deserving where there are none. So coming up with a very sound investment strategy, and so that we then feel a much greater sense of ownership of the program as a whole, of Oxfam as a whole, of our very valuable brand as a whole, rather than, thinking of 15 separate entities.
Last but not the least, I would like to ask you the final question as to what benefits will working together as one Oxfam bring to your affiliate as well as to the wider confederation?
Oxfam is one of the oldest, largest, most trusted NGOs in the world. It's a well-known and well-loved brand. Something very important. I believe if we were to work much more closely together, we could multiply the magnitude of the impact that we are currently having many-fold. Currently, still a lot of things that we do are 15 different Oxfams that come together for various things, but not for everything. And the SMS process is forcing us to come together. We realize in the EDs meetings that we have, where very frank conversations are beginning to be held. that we have a long way to go still, to get to know each other, to understand our different philosophies, to build trust. But that is beginning to happen. And once that happens, I believe, the power of a collective like ours really can be so much bigger, especially on the kinds of global challenges that we are facing today, which we need to work together, which is the reason why we came together as an international confederation. Whether it's climate change, whether it's access to medicines for poor, whether it's, I would say, even food security, shifting balances of power, and so on. We need to work as one family. So I think that is wonderful that is happening. Within India, again, we see a huge benefit of bringing the 6 different Oxfams together. We are seen as one now, we speak with one voice, we're Oxfam India. And people are beginning to come to us and recognize, the strength of our collective work, which I don't think happened when we were so many different Oxfams all doing our own thing. We've built a very solid Oxfam India in the last 3 years, and word has gotten around. So now governments are, meetings call us to say, we're preparing our 12th 5-year plan. Can we learn from Oxfam about the humanitarian work that you've done in the past? Or again, can we get input from you on the right to education law? Who do we talk to in the organization? So within India, we're seeing a very, very in many concrete ways, other donors coming to us to say, actually now we want to work with Oxfam. What is Oxfam's view on policy? What is Oxfam's view? So I think the same thing will happen globally. When the world sees that we are coming together, the new players, the foundation, the corporates, and all of these will see the combined strength of Oxfam, and I think we are just beginning to see really the huge impact that the SMS process and the coming together of the family as one is going to have on the kinds of issues that we care about.